So think about what we've been doing so far. We've learned how to graph equations, right? I give you an equation and you know how to graph it. But last night you did something, you did the reverse. I gave you points, or I gave you lines, and I asked you to find the equation, right? To write the equation. So this is sort of like that second part, because I'm going to be asking you to know how to write an equation of a line that is parallel to that line, or perpendicular to that line. Now what do we know? What does parallel mean? Mira.
They are across from each other and they never cross each other.
Right, like, well, give me an example in life. What do you yes?
Railroads.
Railroad tracks, right? The two tracks, they never cross. They're parallel, right? They constantly going in the same direction.
When you're changing rails, they do.
Shush, boy.
I'm just saying,
Just
at rail,
Okay.
like
You're
every
right.
section
He's
could
right.
go either way.
He's right. But
No, I
most,
mean the lines of a railroad track, they never cross each other.
right, right.
They do
If it's
at
like
a
that,
rail
they're
crossing.
You know what you mean.
Okay, but you know what I mean, right? So,
Yeah, just-
right, so you guys know, because so we know what parallel is. Now, let's think about it. If I gave you a line, so first we're going to talk about parallel. Parallel, right? If I gave you a line, I said y is equal to 2x plus 7. Right? Y is equal to 2x plus 7. We'll even graph it in this messy, on this messy board. Okay, so plus 7, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I put a dot. That's my y-intercept. And then I go up 2 over 1, right? Up 2 over 1, put a dot, draw my line, and this is a lovely straight line. Okay? And then I want to write an equation of a line that is parallel to that. Does anybody have an idea how I could do that? Gideon?
You could just like subtract the b, like by say 2 or 1, but leave the rest of the equation the same.
Oh, what do you
Because-
think about that, London? Did you understand what he said?
Yeah, I get it, but I was thinking of just making it negative. Like,
Make what negative?
well, it could be, no,
Right,
the
Gary?
7. No, yeah, the 7.
The 7, okay, so your idea is to keep everything the same except change the b.
Yeah.
Like lower it 1 or 2. Your idea is to keep everything the same but
If it's-
change the b to a negative,
If
right?
it's 2x, then
Okay,
you're gonna want
and
to.
then Mira. Wait, actually, Cassie had, I want to call on Cassie first, because she had her hand up.
Me? I did.
Never mind, Mira had her hand up next.
Okay, well, if you like added or subtracted something from 7, then wouldn't you have to do it from all the sides? Like, say you wanted to add 2 to 7 to make it 9.
But I'm not asking for it to be equal. I'm not asking you to, I'm not caring about equality, right? Well, you're,
Yeah, but you want a parallel line.
right. I want a parallel line, but the question is, some things, so yes, Cassie, what are you saying?
Okay, would you like subtract or like 2 from 2x and 7?
So what is the 2? What is the 2?
Oh,
and you can't add
Rise.
But what is the 2? What does the 2 represent? What?
Rise,
Rise over run, right? So, I mean, because 2 over 1 would be rise over run. That is your slope of the line, right? Is there any similarity between the slope of this line and the slope of this line, which is parallel to it?
yes.
What?
They're the same.
They're the same slope. Oh my God! They're the same slope.
Yay!
To be parallel, they have to be the same slope. Gideon was right. London was right. Keep everything the same, except change the b.
I'm right for
And
once
then-
today.
Yes, you are. Finally. God, where have you been?
Yeah.
It took forever. Okay, so, right, but you keep everything the same, especially the slope has to always be the same, right? Does that make sense? So technically, this was my y-intercept, right? Let's say I want this to be my y-intercept. As long as I use the same slope, I go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Look at this. It's going to be a perfectly straight line that is perfectly parallel. Oh,
Straight line.
Sort of.
perfect.
It looks beautiful,
Perfect.
Gary.
You just
Now-
changed the B, right?
All I did was change the B. Now, I'm gonna use London's idea, and he said change it to a -7, so we'll try that. We'll go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we'll put a dot, and then we'll use the same slope. We'll rise 2, and we'll run 1, rise 2, run 1, and we have a beautiful straight line that is beautifully parallel to the other
They
two.
all kind of like curve in the middle.
Yeah.
Shush,
They
girl.
all like stay the same distance
Okay.
away, sort
Right.
of.
So parallel lines are so easy, because you just keep the slope, you just change the B's. Make sense? It's pretty clear, right? Straight, fist to 5, everybody gets it.
I have a trick for
The trick, okay?
Yes. To remember what parallel is,
Yeah.
the two L's in the middle of the word are
Yeah.
parallel
Very
to each other.
Very nice.
I learned this.
Except they cross sometimes when you write sloppily. Okay. So now let's talk about perpendicular.
Oh.
Oh my, I hate being perpendicular.
Now let me ask a question. With perpendicular, think about these lines that these are all parallel, right?
Yeah.
And if I did a line that's perpendicular to this line, would it also be perpendicular to this line?
Yeah.
Would it also be perpendicular to this line?
Oh,
Yeah, because they're parallel, right?
Yeah.
So perpendicular one will make it perpendicular to all. Now, what is the correlation of these lines that you see here? Positive or negative?
Positive.
Remember, I just introduced that word today. It's positive correlation, positive slope. What will this correlation be on the perpendicular line, Mira?
Would you change the M to negative?
Yes, right? Doesn't it make sense?
Yeah.
This one's going to be going down to
But
the
you
right,
can't change
right?
the 7, right?
So if the correlation is positive on the original equation, does that make sense, Andrea? If the original equation is positive correlation, the perpendicular equation will have to be a negative correlation. Now what if it was a negative correlation, the first one? The perpendicular would be a positive. So the sign is always going to change.
And would you
Right.
start at the same y-intercept as the other one?
You can. It does. You can, but you don't need to, right?
Well,
I could make a parallel line here, but I could also make a perpendicular line there, or I could make it there, or here, or here, or here, or here, or here. You see what I'm saying? I could do the perpendicular line anywhere. So really, the B does not matter. Whatever you put for B is going to be fine, right?
But perpendicular
But
lines don't have to
it's
be
the
parallel.
slope that is going to change. Let's think about this. This was rise 2. Now this one, let's go with this one. It looks like that's sort of it. This is not going to work totally great because
Do perpendicular lines have to be parallel?
Actually, you drew a nice line there, Gary. That actually
yeah,
does
see, I didn't
this
draw
one.
that one very well.
You actually
that-
did this
I
one.
didn't draw that. That's sort of sloped wrong. So
Yeah.
hang on. So perpendicular would be about like that, right? Something like that? I don't know. But whatever. Basically, you go down 1 negative over 2.
Actually, isn't it two?
So if I was going to write a perpendicular line, this is what it'd be. It'd be y is equal to negative 1 over 2 x plus 7 in that case. But it doesn't matter. That could be any number. What's the difference?
wait,
What did I do to the slope, Cassie?
You did the reciprocal of the two.
Okay, and I changed the sign. I made it negative. If it was already negative, I'd have to change the sign to positive, right? So basically, the way you word this is perpendicular, the slope, the perpendicular slope, how do you say that? You have the original slope and the perpendicular. How do I? English. It's complicated. All right, so to be perpendicular, the slope must be, this is how they usually word it, the negative reciprocal.
Wait, does it have to be negative?
Well, no, hang on just a second. The negative reciprocal
Well,
of
the first
the
one is none of the
original slope, right? of the original slope. So let's think about what that means. If the slope was 2/3, then the perpendicular would be -3/2. If the slope was -4/5, the reciprocal, negative reciprocal, negative of a negative is a
It'd be 1
positive,
and 1/4
right?
if you're doing it.
Right, but I'm gonna keep it as a fraction because it's the slope,
Wait,
right?
that would be
Rise over rate. So it's gonna be +5/4. Does that make sense?
But if you were doing,
Does that make sense?
if you're doing proper fractions, it would be.
Yeah, right. But for slope, you usually
Yeah.
keep it as just a fraction,
I know.
right?
Yeah,
And then-
same.
So does that make sense? You guys get that?
Yeah.
Okay, one last thing. I will, on the homework, I will give you something like this. Just give me like 2 more minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah.
On the homework, I'm gonna give you something like this. It'll say, circle, okay, it'll say circle the 3 equations that are parallel. Right? Parallel. And then I'll give you something like this. So y is equal to 2x plus 4. And then I'll say y is equal to 3 plus 2x. And I might say 2y is equal to 4x plus 10. And I might say y is equal to negative 2x minus 1. So which 3 are parallel?
The top 3, I think.
This says that is my slope, right? The 2/1. Now look, I wrote it backwards, right?
Oh.
This is my slope, right? Those have the same slope. Those are definitely parallel. Now, this one, slope is -2. That's not the same.
No.
So my guess is this one, but I'd have to divide by 2 to be sure. Y is equal to 2x plus 10. Sure enough,
No,
2x.
5.
Five.
5. 10 divided by 2 is 5.
Told you.
Gary, I thought you were the math teacher.
Right. So great, you got it. Okay, makes sense? Good.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
that's it. Thanks, guys.